Hello and welcome to this, our final episode, our grand finale of NaPoWriMo 2023. I am your host, Bex Sherwood, and I have been guiding us all down the messy, wavy rivers of this turbulent journey of writing poetry. If you are new here, welcome. This is a strange place to begin, as it is our final episode, but you're welcome in anyway. We're going to be talking about our previous this year's attempt at NaPoWriMo. Now that we are fully out of April, it is a fond memory, and we have literally the longest we could possibly have until we need to do NaPoWriMo again. We're here today to share our thoughts, the lessons that we have learned, to share some poems from fabulous poets that we know throughout Scotland, and to probably plug some more shit at you. So welcome in. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Mclean, Katie Ailes, and Mark Gallie.
Hello! We're out of April.
It's finally over.
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be.
It's like the opposite of Christmas, where when you wake up after it and are like, no, it's so far to the next Christmas. It's like, oh, it's so far until the next April. Oh, thank the Lord.
We really need to get better at writing poems in other months, guys.
No. It's only for April.
Well, but we're here.
But it's May.
Thank you, everyone who joined us watching our previous episodes and enjoying the series along with us. Thank you for the lovely compliments and comments and all the sharing that you've done. It is very much appreciated. In this episode today, we're just going to chat a little bit about our thoughts. So if this is your first episode and you are jumping in here, this is a really bad place to start. Please go back and check out our previous episodes where we have done page poetry, collab poetry, performance poetry, remix poetry, and film poetry, all in the space of 1 week for each challenge, all throughout April. And now we're just here to talk about what we've learned and to share some poems from people who wrote way more than we did this month. So yeah, welcome in, guys. So how everyone's feeling pleased. Everyone seems very happy that NaPoWriMo is once again at its end.
Easiest poet week this week.
Yeah.
Easiest poem week this week. Being honest, super smooth. Hit the deadline immediately.
Smashed it.
I think it's just hard to. I was trying to get why we like it's such a push, and I think it's just because like we have the added thing of trying to make it entertaining for a podcast format, which is like adds a different level of pressure to it, where if we were trying to do that for daily stuff, it would be a nightmare. But I actually, this has probably been my favorite of the NaPoWriMos we've done so far. I think I got like everything I got out of it was meh to good,
Right.
which is
Solid bar.
That's a strong ratio.
Solid bar.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean though. Like I got I remember during April getting like a memory of like a few when we were doing every day and being like, ooh, some of these were really just to try and hit that. I did a poem today, and I remember going over when we did it every month. I was like, right, because even like I was like, right, so May should be like National Poetry Editing Month, but there's like way less pressure. And just like it's just every day, let's just look at one, like or have a look. And so I remember collating them into like done, no need to look at again, like maybe some good ideas and like these are finished or maybe performable. But it was just the ratio of ones that I was like probably not to usable ones has gotten way better as we've kind of like zoned in and been able to focus on these. Like
I'm 100% for NaPoWriMo.
NaPoWriMo. Let's make that a
we
thing.
do NaPoWriMo straight into NaPoWriMo.
NaPoWriMo.
Coming next week. No, maybe 2024.
There will not be a podcast in May 2023.
No. The soul of NaPoWriMo is chill. Like NaPoWriMo is deadlines and get going, and everyone is going, have a read of it. Say it out loud once a day. That's all. Just like
we could do a NaPoWriMo special at the end of May, where we go back to the NaPoWriMo poems and see where we got them to in a month.
Yeah.
Have we just committed to another podcast?
No, 2024.
2024.
I'm recording a week before my wedding. That is not happening. 2024. But yes, thank you all so much for joining us. As we said, Kev, I loved some of the poems that you made this month. You made some really great ones. I mean, everyone did. This makes it sound like I really hated
Katie and Mark, it was
Katie
crap.
one.
Do better.
Yeah. I think my
Go
favorite
get a
of your
coffee.
ones, probably, I think it's your collaboration with Katie. I think you do collaborate. Hey, I like your parts of it and Katie's parts.
So my favorite one that you liked of mine was the one Katie wrote.
No, oh come on. You know you wrote it. Just take the damn compliment, Kev.
You
No,
wrote
I
a
really
lot of
enjoyed
that.
that. Like like structure wise and stuff was and like my bits I wrote.
I feel like it was nice for you to get to like, because I know when I first sort of came on the scene and before I was part of Loud Poets and stuff, I saw you do a lot of collab pieces and I was really drawn to them. I really liked them. And I feel like you've not had the opportunity to get to do that. Obviously, a lot of our work's been digital. A lot of your sets have been solo. So it was really nice to kind of see you in that space again, and to write something with Katie is obviously great. And like, yeah, I just really, I think it was one of my favorites that yours did. But how did you feel? You said you've got some usable stuff this year. You got some stuff to go in your set. This is what you were looking for.
I really I enjoyed the collab a lot, just because, like you said, it's something that I did a lot, and it was something that really pulled me into poetry. Like especially like a lot of my favorite stuff that came out of button poetry in the kind of year I was getting into it were the collab pieces. I was just so blown away when collab's done right. Like multi-voice poems are done right, they can be just spectacular. Like I remember the first time seeing Phil and Sarah Kay, different types of K, but still do their sort of really high profile collab piece, and it like blew my mind. And so yeah, it's just something I've always been a fan of. And writing with Kate was special. We've written a lot of, we've written a lot of stuff together, like in orbit of each other, right? Where we we input very well into each other's stuff. But like collaborating is a very specific type of writing that requires, I don't know, just a different kind of mindset. And so to try and like pivot our styles around each other was a lot of fun. Challenging but fun, and I think it's actually, I think it helped us both a great deal. I think like actually having to really consider the way in which we write and how we approach it and how to bend that slightly is cool. I was pleased. I have already performed one of my pieces, my page poem.
Nightmare that this is your track record. We tell you to write stuff that only works on the page, and you go, nah.
I shan't.
Hey, it was never only. It was just that the page was integral to the piece in general.
So it was brilliant how you performed it, though. Share
it's
the
particularly annoying. These guys are laughing because they remember last year's NaPoWriMo. If you didn't watch, again, I moaned when we had to do concrete poetry, because I was like, well, that's not very performance-y. How do I perform that it's shaped like a tree? And then I did a piece that is like, I kind of copped out and did it's like a handprint, and I have a poem, Lasco, which is my favorite poem to perform currently, and for the last year has been like if I have one poem to perform, I do Lasco, and I very much enjoy it. And so this year I again did page poetry, right? Well, I'm going to do an abstract performance piece with the fortune teller, and so at our Loud Poets show, I did while I'm kind of doing the patter with the audience, I kind of try and chat to a new person and harass them at a poetry show, and so then the kind of nice was like, well, I'll do a poem for you, and I pulled out the thing, and I did then a specific poem, and the person that brought them, I did another poem for that person, and it was just a nice, for these short little couplets I can just throw in. And I think it's a thing I will try and keep, like, you know, even to like separate poems, to kind of palette cleanse between them, to tone shift and stuff like that, because I can just kind of pull out and be like, pick a poem. And
You've got that folded up. That's like the perfect answer where I was like, you're a poet, do a poem. Pick a color. Like you've got to carry that.
Keep it in your wallet.
During Fringe or something. Just like, but
and especially if I'm doing
a
longer set, right? Like it's something I can just kind of do between these little punctuation pieces, which would be quite nice. So that's really serviceable. Yeah, I'm really excited to potentially perform the collab, because I think once me and Katie can get into a rhythm with that and timing with it, and you know, do the lift, which will be fun, then I think that'll be a kind of cool standout piece to do. And we're at the same gigs a lot, so at least like there is the potential to always like pull the other one up to do that sort of piece. most
Katie
kind of
looking
stoked.
terrified.
Please with warning.
Most kind of stoked with my video one. I really enjoyed it, and
So good.
I watch a huge amount of Minecraft content. I really enjoy Minecraft. It's what I do with a lot of my spare times. A lot of people play lots of games. I pretty much only play Minecraft. It's a huge de-stressor for me. It's a thing that is like nice to do, and so it was a lot of fun to kind of make a video out of it, and you know, with Pig Step under it. It felt very cool. So yeah, so I had a bunch of fun with a lot of the stuff, and like I think as opposed to last year, I feel like even if not everything goes into the set, I think my D&D poem, the Fortune Catcher, and the collab are all pieces I will perform, and then I think the video piece is nice. And even, you know what, the remix thing, I think I will probably throw that in there at some point. It's like
there'll be a time where that's
honors.
appropriate. Like that would be, you know, and I think that's one of the things with the variety of pieces that you've made this year is you've given yourself a lot of opportunity to do these pieces, maybe not all the time, maybe not within the same set, but they have a lot of like covering a lot of topics, gives you a lot of yeah, it would be a really weird set, but I would watch that show. Sweet. Right. Nominate someone to go next to receive compliments.
I didn't get any compliments. I got Katie was your favorite fucking poet. Mark, then, whatever. Mark doesn't get compliments. I want to know what's wrong with Mark. Why creepy all the time, Mark?
Is this going to be a therapy session for Mark?
I don't know if you all saw it, but on one of our podcasts, the one where you did the Bo Burnham, the remix, someone said you were like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, or the MC from Cabaret. And I compared it to I was like very Willy Wonka, or like what's his name from the Crystal Maze. There's like a insert weird spindly creepy man here, just so you know. Because I think it was Beeg that was saying like child catcher vibes. What's the deal, Gallie?
How you doing, Mark? You got anything you want to?
I'm good. I really enjoy
it today. Spill the tea.
I've got to say, and because it goes back a few NaPoWriMos ago, I think it really happened after we did it every day. That broke me, and everything went dark after that. Not everything. There's obviously been, you know, like a couple of bits in between. I've really enjoyed like writing the more like spookier dark poetry. It's weird that now people would be like, "You terrify me," and I'm like, "Sweet, that's what I'm going for," but not in a, you know, that I hope, you know.
I think it's kind of fun to be scared sometimes.
I don't know. It sounds really silly, and I'm aware that this sounds very dark, which is either ironic or the point or whatever the thing is. I have always thought that like the fear is one of the most like powerful emotions. This is not me going to the thing, but like and especially like the idea through like horror films or like horror video games or for certain mediums, like, you know, in a book, it's a mark of how good it is if it can make you scared, because you're like, you can close a book, you can turn off a film, you can stop playing a game, but like that sort of like persisting kind of thing. And like I've found poetry very, very fascinating for what it can do since I saw, to reference back, like my first collab was one that Kev's mentioned before, was Big Love. And
is that an example of horror?
No, but like from seeing collab and like
you're the poor woman we were
more diverse. No. The poetry is that multifaceted. It isn't the stuff I learned in school. You know, if you've learned not boring stuff in school for poetry wise, good for you. Tell your teacher they're good. You know, but I've really enjoyed, you know, playing with what those mediums are, like what poetry can be, as well as like, you know, that idea of like what should a poet write about. I'm like, what's stopping the thing? I was reading about horror, and it's quite nice in the weird way, because I've obviously been like, yeah, spooky things, and I'm like, horror is quite nice as the thing, because people try to escape to horror, you know, and that thing of like, because then it's like, you know, it's for that a different kind of thing. Like, that's very scary. So when they come back, they feel safer for not being in that, you know, for I don't live in Silent Hill. I don't live in Raccoon City. You know, it's not that, it's that like, they're like, oh, that's terrifying. That makes the real world seem nicer in the thing, which is very fun.
I can see Katie nodding like she agrees with that statement. Like she isn't in her mind going, nope, safe here, don't need to venture out to find that
Although
out.
it does explain why I watch so much true crime.
you know, but there's
but then true crime is I'm just having a weird internal discussion with myself now. But I love what you've been doing with horror, Mark. I mean, as someone who does not watch horror and avoids it religiously, I really enjoy your work, because you bring this intelligence and this curiosity to it, and often like a bit of dark humor through it as well, which I always really enjoy. And God, the piece that you did for performance and for film is so good and
my
so
favorite,
creepy.
NaPoWriMo, I think. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And the film with getting all the after effects in it. But it was funny because you also performed it live at our open mic last Monday, 2 Mondays back. What is time?
Hi.
On the 24th. And it was so cool to see it in that live setting and kind of see the audience also going like, what is he doing? He's casting a spell on us.
Did have one person say they felt safer afterwards? So, you know, it's not...
Didn't someone ask you to send them the spell?
Yeah, to send it for a D&D campaign, which is like the highest honor, I think, of my writing.
That's
like,
right up there.
I know we all published an anthology together and I've been published before and other stuff. Get and be like, can I use your spell? Yes.
I think there's a thing though where like horror in poetry is hard because you don't have so much of like, especially modern horror, right, which like is in film. Let's take that as the sort of the go-to place when people consider horror, right? They consider films. I think you can rely so much on gore that can look very realistic nowadays, just with the tools at people's disposal, or on the sort of boo jump scare, right? Where like that is, you know, if you're in a cinema with a great sound system, yeah, it will frighten you. Like that is just, you know what I mean? That's the way it is. Whereas with poetry, the horror has to be in the concept. It has to be in this sort of creeping rhythms and things like that. It's like when you look at like Edgar Allan Poe is so enduring because like it takes a real skill to write that scarily, like to really, and not like a boo scare or anything, but this looming dread. Or when you look at like a lot of the sort of things in like Cthulhu or whatever, right, where to write horror, to make these things feel looming and real and visceral when there is the separation to a page, it's very hard to do. It's the thing you do very well, especially I think this month you've done very well, which is not just be like it's a spooky story, but like use the forms or the tools that you're using to reinforce the spooky.
I think you've done a really good job, again, talking, because we all spoke about this beforehand. We're all performance poets. We were looking for pieces we could perform. I think you've done a really good job of knowing that you can set a tone with a room and writing pieces that play into the tone that you know you can set. Like having that safe space one is going to be a really great way to either start or like close a set from, to, you know, lead into, if you know that someone who's the next poet on is not going to be leaning into spooky and is going to be wanting to get them into like a more, you know, emotionally vulnerable place or whatever, you know, their tone is, you could then use that to be like, okay, cool, well, I'll just reset the room for them and then they can come on and do that, which is awesome. Like having your grubby shovel is a really great way to like plug people to go and look at your shit in a set. Go, oh, if you want to see,
don't go look at it.
Don't go look at my Instagram, right? Like, great, awesome. I mean, obviously, like some people would be like, sell out, and I would be like, it's really hard to sell out in poetry, but like I would love to. And obviously the magic circle piece, I'm like so obsessed with. So.
Thank you guys.
You invented the grubby shovel. So
I mean,
yeah, the grubby shovel was a lot of fun. And then like I really enjoyed doing collab. Like again, like it's a format I really like, and again when it's done right, like I loved what you guys have done, and like the four of us have written a collab together. Weirdly, again, harkening back to a horror show. That wasn't my idea. It might have been my
spooky comedy. That show was so strange. This was our Halloween show.
I think that's a very different thing to writing, like because that's very much a character piece as well, right? Like that's very like gimmicky, whereas it's 4 voices and stuff as well. I think there's something very different to that than what we did here, which is like one other person emerging style, which you and Bex did very well.
Which is the beauty of the thing. I can't tell whether with my performance poem. So with like the magic circle, whether doing the film of it has now like sort of like not ruined it for me, but it's maybe gone, oh, I can't actually do magic. So any actual live performance, you know, like you look at my arms and you're like, I guess I could guess the shape, but
I imagine
really
if you woke up
harder,
every day anyway, kind of annoyed that you can't cast ancient seals. Like,
oh,
Just every morning, just
I mean, you know,
maybe tomorrow.
Should get
there's
some
a lot
sparklers and do it.
people that watch Dragon Ball Z still try and see if they can Kamehameha wave every now and then. That's all I'm saying. You know, you got to check. But I've really enjoyed this NaPoWriMo. Like I say, got some pieces out of it that I think I will, you know, certainly do. I think I will do probably fewer of them, but more often. Like I said, I tried Welcome to the Open Mic at the Open Mic, which was, you know, which I hope went down well and was a lot of fun. But I've really enjoyed this one for what kind of like we've all done in like the vast contrasts week to week, and that none of us, you know, prompt to prompt have been very different, have been too similar, or they've been similar in nice ways. I've loved the different mediums and forms of the thing. I'm using this. I'm saying this one. I loved all of them, but this is the one like I played back the most. I really enjoyed Bex, your remix with Jack with the Empress. There's something about you like again, just like as I said, like on the episode it came out, it's just the listening to it. Just there's something so pleasing about the whole audio journey you go on with that piece. So
That's very kind, but you haven't actually heard all of my poems from NaPoWriMo this year because I didn't share my page poem. Because I wanted my crazy crossword. That was nuts. I'm never making that again.
So clever.
But
so clever.
let's. I'm happy for my turn to receive compliments. But I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna share my page poem with everyone. So as I promised I would in our wrap up. So this is actually really funny because this feels very much how I wrote before at the start of NaPoWriMo v what I did in the following week. So it's kind of nice to harken back. But this is Find the Words with all of the words found. So here we go. As I sit with a wish, an intention to write, to create something perfect on this springtime night, I find it's a struggle to know what to say. Unwanted distractions keep coming my way. Let's take time to reflect as the hours pass by, but it seems my poetic well has run dry. It's hopeless and daunting to see such a quest. My writing prowess being put to the test, I start digging and scouring. I'm searching through scraps, seeking rhyming couplets that aren't total crap. I shuffle through notebooks like a croupier cards, but the hand being dealt is just stuff that's bizarre. The notes in my phone from my bleary-eyed scribbles where the beat doesn't reach. What the fuck is this dribble? The hours tick-tock forward. I need something to share. My deadline is looming, but my page remains bare. I'm typing with fury, and I'm searching for rhymes. I'd love to keep drafting, but I don't have the time, so I'm begging and pleading and praying to be heard. Writing is a challenge when you can't find the words. That's my
How dare you? You have no right to have a concept for that good, that well put together, and then for the poem to also be a banger. That's simply unfair.
Like, you could just do that itself.
Thank you. I wanted to make it I wanted it to rhyme because I felt like that was a really good extra clue that I could give people that was very related to being a poem, but also very linked to like the crossword element. So that's my page piece. Let me know how you did, if anyone did the crossword. It's a big one, so you know, fair enough if you didn't, but that was
comment below what you thought the poem was.
Yeah,
tried to solve
that's the other kind of
version.
There's definitely some that I was the clues make sense when you know what the word is, but I'm sure was a fucking bitch to find. So yeah, I'm pleased you like it. But yeah,
so good though. And it's just interesting what you were saying before about kind of the journey of like, that was very much something that you wrote at the start of NaPoWriMo, because I feel like we've talked about this a little bit before, but you have really gone on a journey experimenting with different styles this month. Like you've written longer pieces. Your piece about your surname is longer. Your piece that you did with Jack is longer. You're doing more kind of personal work and exploring using the I voice more and personal experience. And like, I have loved to see that. I think it's fantastic. I think especially for me as someone who like, that's my bread and butter. That's where I started. I started with the confessional. And now my challenge is to do more kind of abstract or, you know, conceptual work. but you've gone the opposite way, where you started really conceptual and started playing with all these different forms and, you know, writing about cows and writing about persona stuff and doing other things. And now, as you're becoming more comfortable, you're starting to get into the more vulnerable personal side of it. And it's just been so wonderful to see you explore that. And the pieces that have come out of NaPoWriMo, like, I know for me, the piece about your surname was my favorite of yours, or well, really your whole name,
Yeah.
from NaPoWriMo, and it's beautiful and brilliant, and so strange because in a month you'll have a new name. So yeah.
I mean, that was I said it in that episode, but probably not just my favorite of your poems from this month, but maybe my favorite poem of yours, I think, is that name piece. I think it's like, I mean, obviously, all your stuff is great, Bex, but people have stylistic preference, right? And like, I like that style of work, and so hearing you really swing into that and write it so well is like was lovely for me. And I just think there is a real strength to your writing that you can show off more in that style. I think like some of your best technical writing has come out of loosening the reins on yourself a bit and not being so beholden to particular structures, which is the point in NaPoWriMo, right? Is to allow yourself to experiment. And so like something like even that crossword piece, great fun, really interesting and stuff, but I feel there is still the bounds of the cell that is the structure of the piece. Whereas as soon as you can break out of that and kind of go wherever you want and play with those rhythms, it's why I like that style of poetry so much, is when you can very much like do as you please, and kind of a singular piece can be, you know, very different throughout it. So seeing you do that in like a couple pieces was very cool.
I think part of it is linked to, obviously, a lot of the writing that I was doing previously is very comedic, and rhyme and rhythm really lend itself to comedy, because then people start predicting the joke and all of those things, and that's wonderful and exactly what you want when you're writing those kind of things. I had a hard time writing freeform because I hadn't figured out how to write freeform in a more comedic way, but actually I've really enjoyed exploring different stuff, and it might not be what people expected from me, but it was well received when I performed it, so I am very pleased. I think my performance piece is definitely one I will take out and use again. I really hope me and Jack Jack really liked my piece, so I really hope we can organize a little time and maybe, you know, set it up proper.
Only we had regular gigs with Jack.
I know, crazy. But yeah, like that would be awesome to get to do that at some point, but like, you know, we'll see when that fits. So yeah, it's been really fun. I think my actual, though, if we're talking about like getting out of one's comfort zone, Katie, your UK citizenship test poem is a marvel. It's so wonderful. It's comedic and powerful. I think everyone this year has done a really good job of like the poetic medium that effectively is, I mean, we never officially called it that. That might be a good way to brand it this whole time. Anyway, the poetic mediums that we kind of looked at this year, I think everyone's done a really good job of like really wanting to explore into that if it's out with of like something that we do. And I think that you doing something like that for your performance piece that is still kind of outside your usual remit, but then still laid into a lot of the foundations of the meaningful things that you often talk about with your poetry. It was masterful. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. It's so interesting like hearing you say that, because for me, I think back to that piece and I'm like, oh, but most of that's going to have to go in the bin and I need to completely rework it and stuff. But actually, I'm really kind of grateful for this NaPoWriMo, because it's something that we've been talking about a bit throughout, but I've kind of been trying to uproot a lot of my spoken word poetry practice and try new things in the last couple of months, and particularly over NaPoWriMo, because I come very much from a page background, and usually the way that I start a poem is I free write and then I get a line or an image and then I kind of extend that and work through it. But I don't know what the end's going to be when I start. And then Kev and I developed a workshop to run in Aberdeen, which I think we've talked about on the podcast. And the whole idea was like looking in depth at concepts and structures. and knowing what you were going to do before you start drafting. And that is alien to my creative practice. That is something that I do not normally do. But every poem I did this NaPoWriMo was that I was thinking about the concept before I actually started writing it. And I had a good sense of what I wanted the beats to be, and beginning, middle, end, and, you know, the kind of desired audience response or structure on the page or whatnot, or on the screen. So I feel like I kind of got like a lot of concepts and only like one finished or two finished pieces, but actually it was really valuable for me. And I'm really grateful to you guys for kind of pushing these challenges onto all of us, and for your guidance and feedback, because
but I wonder how much of, oh, sorry, Gallie.
No, Kev, you go for it.
I wonder how much of that feeling of the poems not being finished is related to the change in how you approach them. Because it was very interesting to see, like, especially I think that the clearest example of it was the film poem, because you had the idea of what that was, and you could summarize it in a single sentence, which you did, and you were like, I want to do this, I want to do a poem where it's like a makeup tutorial but in reverse, and I want to talk about like beauty standards and makeup, but I don't know what I want to say. And then you shot that video before you applied any words to it, which is like so out of how you. It was
so weird saying I've filmed my poetry video, but I haven't written the poem yet.
Whereas a lot of times Kate could have half a poem written, and I'll be like, "What's it about?" Because I'm that guy. What's it about? And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm not sure yet." Because she intends to write for a whole big chunk more, and then go back and edit it, and then find that point through it. And so it was really interesting to see you break that. I do feel like this month has been a bit of me just kind of like shaking the page poetry out of Katie,
really
which is just because of the workshop added to this has been interesting. But you've done really well, and I think especially when you are so massively stepping out of a comfort zone, it can be really difficult, like to change habits and change approach and still get something serviceable. But I think you definitely have. The piece that Bex referenced, the immigration questions, is like, you have to do that live. That's a piece that like should absolutely be out there. Like, yeah.
Thank you.
You'll love it, that first moment you get that silence when you change from like funny, everyone laughing, to just that silence in that room, like, ooh, that's gonna feel fucking good.
Excited
Gallie,
for that
you were gonna
moment.
Oh, I was just gonna be like, even with the like your worries there, Katie, that I think it's really shown through for me in a really positive way, because I think every poem or every piece that you have done today, there has felt like one, like such like a, like, I'm going to use this term, like such highly intelligent like choices of like poem to medium, and they felt so intertwined, and that sort of like that idea that you like had a real thought about certain things beforehand, as then let them sort of meld from the very beginning, and they've just felt very like, you know, whether you consider them done or whenever any poem is done, they feel very complete as the ideas and concepts for me. Like, if were it me in your shoes doing the editing thing, I would be hesitant to change too much, because I think they already just work together so very nicely that to change too much would be to like unravel the two pieces of thread, you know. It's like,
but I also think it's partly to do with the way that you then think of a poem, right? Because like you said, you're a page background, so you're like, and the poem is done, whereas that's not really a thing like that I think of, especially when there are pieces that are so performative, like for example, you're like connect the lines one, right? Why not have like 30 different potential things you can throw in there and pick which ones you do for the particular way you're feeling? Try different ones and see how they land, and then play with it for a while. The immigration poem as well, ask different questions, be like, that one worked, got a laugh. And it's much more akin to like a stand-up approach, right, where like the audience feedback can only happen in the performance, and there's this sculpting and refining before eventually you will settle on and this is probably the definitive version than this, but hey, maybe I'm in a different room, maybe there's a clear gag to throw in there that's specific to this event or whatever, and that's where you get to play with it. So the idea that like especially those ones would ever be done, I don't think is actually an important way to look at it. I think the concepts are the poem. it was similar when I was like, when I did the D&D one, I was like, and then you fill in the rest, right? And it didn't kind of matter what that rest was, because you know what the point of the poem is by that point. The rest is the fun of getting there, and there'd be multiple different versions and try a bunch of stuff, and if it works, great, keep it. If it doesn't, bin it. So yeah, I would very much look at those more as like from a spoken word perspective, rather than your page ways.
Says
yeah, thank
page
you.
Poet Kevin Mclean, whose set is 2 page poems, plus others, of course, plus other wonderful things like I won. So anyway, that is our poems for this year. Everyone's done a very superb job, so well done, everyone. Here's a clap it out
for everyone.
Clap it out.
Didn't we all do well?
But we're not the only ones who did well this NaPoWriMo. And we wanted to pay homage and basically give some shout outs to some awesome poets who are operating in the Scottish spoken word scene, who did NaPoWriMo either every day or just wrote a shit ton more during the month of April, and share some pieces from them. So I think, I'll start. I want to share a piece that was written this NaPoWriMo by a wonderful friend of ours, part of our writing club as well, James Stedman, who is just like the loveliest dude ever. And he came along to our open mic a few weeks ago, shared this great piece, a villanelle that he used Katie's tutorial for, and he was very complimentary of Katie because he's correct, and Katie deserves the compliments. And it, for me, it did the thing that we've all spoken about when we've spoken about villanelles in the past, which is it's a great villanelle. It's right on. Can't tell it's a villanelle. Can't tell it's a form thing. So I will try and do it justice with my reading. So this is James's poem, Exhale. I put on my rainbow necklace and paint my nails. Breathe deep. Supplicate my talismans of protection until the day finally comes when I can exhale. You smile at me, a welcoming friend. What witty tales will I have? Will we make to add to your collection since I put on my rainbow necklace and painted my nails? Tolerance. But peek beneath the surface, lift society's veil of decency at every moment harbors potential rejection until the day finally comes when I can exhale. What everyday tasks might endanger me if I were to hail a taxi or bus, or speak out of turn in the wrong direction when I put on my rainbow necklace and paint my nails? Not so far removed in time or place. They'd throw me in jail or worse, and everything could change again at the next election. Bring on the day, finally, when I can exhale. Always itching at the back of my mind that I will fail to meet society's standards and be exterminated as an infection, but still I put on my rainbow necklace and paint my nails. The day will finally come when we can all exhale.
It's such a brilliant piece from James.
Better when James reads it. You should come to our open mic and see James read it sometime.
I think you gave it a fair delivery though, in the same bit. Like as someone who has written a lot of villanelles, it is difficult to make it not do that, like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And that's like just as much as in the writing quality as it is in the performance that allows you to do that. And like, it's such a great piece overall. And it's that thing, the fact that it is a villanelle heightens the piece and the message rather than being a confining element to it. So
it's amazing how much he makes it sound like he's normal pattern.
Yeah. And he really uses that repetition to get at the cyclical nature of discrimination and being stuck in that cycle, but then breaking the refrain on the last line, changing the refrain to indicate that the cycle can be broken. I say it every single episode of every podcast we've done since we started Return to form and function going hand in hand. And yeah, James does such a beautiful job with that villanelle. It's such a brilliant piece. So
few people write poems that sound so much like they're thinking than James does. I know that doesn't like his pieces always sound like he's a stream of thought. But like it makes me think that James has a beautifully like lyrical mind, but like he just has this way of like taking you through a singular thought, like and threading that out very casually, but with real depth to it. He's a very, very talented writer.
Well done, James. We're all big fans. Any of these poets who we plug, you can find in the description. Please do go and support them when they have gigs and like all of their shit and follow them on social media. We love validation.
I also felt bad because early on in NaPoWriMo, I saw James at the open mic, and I was like, "Fuck you, James!" And he went, "Oh, what?" And I was like, "Writing every day, making me look bad." And he was like, "Oh, sorry." And I was like, "No, it's fine. I'm just horrible. Sorry about that." Just as someone is confronted with, not everyone has the same like, fuck you for writing poems attitude that we do. And I just essentially like attacked him for trying. And he was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I've missed the point here, James. My bad.
You get very intense in April.
I think he also shared a poem, and then you were like, it was Sarah that you found one of her poems. You were like, this is a great erasure poem. Now turn it into a golden shovel. What the hell, Kev?
Yeah. Just make demands of people to do stuff. So yeah, like I think he was a bit like, oh God, no, it's just me being a loose cannon.
Welcome in, James. Come and enjoy the madness.
But it's been really good seeing everyone. I'll read one as well, because again I pulled it from our Discord. Like the writing group have just made us look like fools. Yeah, this month. And someone that I've only really seen perform in the last couple of years, since we kind of got out of the Central Belt a bit, Fiona Robertson, who's fast becoming one of my favorite writers.
So good.
She was part of our workshop group up in Aberdeen and did the showcase and stuff, and her writing is so good. And like she's often what I wish I could be a bit more, which is like a political writer. Like she writes so well on like issue-based stuff. And this one, when she threw it up in the Discord, I was like, get out of my head, Fiona. So this is what's God got to do with it. I'm still searching for the right phrase to replace thank God. I've tried gods, but that's a bit too eyeliner and lace, which I also was when I had the energy. I often use fuck, but despite its popularity, it's not appropriate everywhere. So what is the source of good things to be thanked? I could think cats, but that would be pretty weird when talking to someone whose parents has just come out of a successful surgery, or when expressing relief that a lost child has been found. Cats are great, but unlikely to have had anything to do with that. Unless one led the child back to safety, in which case, great job, cat. You're doing better than the original stand-in. I could thank the universe, and sometimes do, but the universe is not granting favors, and devastation belongs to it as much as hope. Therein lies my problem. This is all arbitrary. My thanks are vocalizations of relief, of gratitude to chance that this time, right now, it worked out, when it could so easily have been otherwise. No cosmic justice lies behind which hopes are met and which turn to salt and ash in your mouth. But I am still grateful when it does not go wrong. And I need a way to mark it, to recognize breath still flowing and hearts still beating and love still thrumming and laughter still radiant when you jump out of the way just in time. So I guess I've got my answer. Thank goodness.
So wonderful.
Fiona's great.
She's got such a skill as well, because I think, one of the things that has almost become cliched in poetry and pretty much every art form is like leaning almost into inspiration porn. Like, it's all going to be okay. Everything is fine. Out of the darkness, there is light. And Fiona's work, if this is a theme through a lot of her writing, is like a lot of it is incredibly difficult and incredibly shitty. And there is no easy solution. And trying to navigate a way to hope and joy and goodness regardless. And I feel like her work is such a tonic for finding that positive messaging without it feeling falsely inflated or sugary or cliched in any way. And just her talent with imagery and tone and beautiful.
I think Fiona is going to be one of the poets who's like individually, like, like certain lines from their entire genre of work are going to like stay with me sort of forever. You're like, I think every time I see Fiona and there's a new poem or even like an older poem, there's a bit where I go, oh, that's now got space. in there that's not leaving, and in the best possible way, whether that is like a beautiful, like, you know, like you say, like uplifting line, or like a real truth kind of moment in a different way that I hadn't thought about, and going, oh, like, oh damn, like, it is. I mean, like revolutionary seems like silly when I say that, but I'm just like just very clever and very like brilliantly done.
I think to be able to, I think societally, obviously, there's a, you know, a massive thing happened that everyone is still kind of traumatized from, but no one talks about, which is like obviously the COVID situation. And like, I think societally, people are a bit more delicate than they once were, and they're not so hyperbolic in terms of their believing in cliches and stuff. And I think people are a little more grounded. I don't know whether that's just maybe in my circle of friends, maybe we're all just old and that's just what's happened, but I feel like there's such a you know, some of those like cliche things that you were talking about, Katie, can become so, you know, over,
they're hollow.
yeah, completely. And it leaves you with more of a feeling of emptiness than it was meant to by trying to be inspiring. Whereas this is something that is acknowledging the like acknowledging what we're feeling and acknowledging a like very universal emotion. I mean, we talk about this a lot, where it's like, fine, you know, if you can make something personal but also make something general enough that everyone feels that. And I feel like Fiona has such a way of doing that, and to turn it in the end to bring that at the uplift. It doesn't then need to be, you know, this huge, and the sun rised and everyone was well and the Tories would have power and whatever. And it was more about like that gentle, like, there is always hope, and that like very Pandora-esque vibe to it.
There's a pragmatism to her work, which both is accepting of the reality and the bad, but also that within that there must be good, there must be alternative, there must be hope for change, or else there is only bad, right? And so like that pragmatic approach to it, where she doesn't ring loftily about like high concepts. She speaks about very specific and purposefully and really focused in on specific issues, and then like that hope is seen both in the language. Like I early on in that piece, the sort of like you know, the I've tried gods, but that's a bit too eyeliner and lace, which is a good joke, but then which I also was when I had the energy. And there's that kind of like underpunch to it, like when I was, you know, when we were younger and everyone was a, you know, pagan and whatever, because there was this hope that you could do it differently, hope that you could change. And a lot of that is like ground out of you. And like Fiona is very good at like capturing that and keeping it what should be the innate hope or light in a situation. But yeah, it feels very pragmatic writing a lot of the time with Fiona.
I often feel with Fiona as well, that pragmatism, because she is a scientist and she, you know, is fascinated with physics and astronomy and, you know, how nature works. And I think a lot of that balance works out. And segue, the piece that I have to share is also by a fantastic female poet in the Scottish spoken word scene who is also a scientist.
Women in STEM!
The tremendous Georgia Bartlett McNeil.
Hell yeah.
Georgia is a stalwart of the Edinburgh spoken word scene, and also like the queen of NaPoWriMo, because she's been doing it since I think before we were, I don't even want to know how many years. She always does every single day and somehow manages to bash out crazy good, like lengthy poems. She may have done a haiku at one point, but if she has, I've never seen it. And I have written so many cop-out NaPoWriMo haiku. So Georgia is also a fantastic member of our lovely Discord, our Loud Poets writing group. And so I wanted to share one of the pieces that she wrote, which I just found really moving and lovely. So she was looking at some scientific research, and this is a piece about 52 blue, which is an as yet unidentified species of whale, which is said to be the loneliest whale in the world. I have known loneliness intimately. Its forceful press upon my chest as I lay alone in my bed, trying to cover my head with the sheets, but they're just too heavy. If loneliness had a color, even before I knew about you, I would have said it was deep blue. I read an article in New Scientist today. It's how I came to know you, or at least to know your name, Whale 52, or 52 blue, depending on exactly who you talk to. named for your voice as it was when it was heard for the first time. It must hurt that the hurts used to identify you are at a frequency you no longer sing to. They call you the loneliest whale in the world. Say you roam to the Pacific from California to Alaska, and that your song is the only thing we can use to recognize you. It is your fingerprint, your shadow and your reflection. No one has ever seen you. Your voice is your ghost, the most distinguishing thing about you, that's something the two of us have in common. Some scientists hypothesize that you are the bastard offspring of a blue whale mother and a fin whale father. They say you're probably male because only male whales sing. They wonder whether you are deaf. They speculate if you are a hybrid or malformed in the same breath. They say you're probably not actually alone because bodies of your kin have been hauled aboard whaling trawlers, theorize your ancestry based upon their bones as if the dead can ever tell a whole story or sing a whole song on their own. And I come to the conclusion that my loneliness maybe isn't quite so crushing as it likes to make itself out to be. That to be lonely and to be alone are two different things. It's Georgia Bartlett McNeil.
Georgia just doesn't miss.
She really doesn't. That's her
time.
day 24. So
what?
24th poem.
Yeah.
That's get to the end times. That's not.
Gorgeous work. She's thank you, Georgia, for writing these tremendous poems and sharing them with us. Always a gift.
For those that don't know, Georgia's been around since like the start of Loud Poets. Like she's like OGLP. And I have never not been blown away by her work. She was this good when I met her, almost 10 years ago. And she has just been consistently putting out some of the most extraordinary pieces. And to write so prolifically as Georgia does, and still find these pieces that make, I've probably heard more of Georgia's work than anyone, just because we've been around in the scene together so long. And still every one, it's like a punch to the gut. And specifically then in there, that line that they say you are half breed and malformed in the same breath.
Yeah, hybrid or malformed in the same breath. Yeah.
And knowing the body of Georgia's work and who Georgia is as a person and stuff, and how that relates into a lot of her other work and stuff, it is really beautiful. It's an enraging thing, and this isn't particularly on the topic of NaPoWriMo. Georgia should be like a fucking huge deal, and it really, really, really bugs me that the Scottish scene, unless you are already published, no one gives a fuck who you are. She is so good. She smokes most poets in this country, just straight up and down. There are a lot of very celebrated poets that don't have an ounce of the talent that Georgia has just on the regular. It's very, very tiring.
To tie it all
so
in,
if you're watching this, book Georgia.
Yeah, book Georgia.
Genuinely though, it's crazy. Someone like that should be a full-time writer. And I know that if she wants to. I know Georgia loves what she does as a scientist and stuff, but she is the illustration of how underdeveloped Scottish poetry is. Because if she was in London, she'd have a lit agent, she'd have books out, she would be on the circuit. It's done. It's super done.
But that's the thing to it. She ties it so well in with the stuff that she does, the science stuff. It always blows my mind how accessible it is with the language that she uses in broader senses, where it's even though I know that's a science word, but you don't, it informs or it doesn't matter, and it's you often learn things from her poems. I didn't realize only blue whales could sing, and that's what
male whales.
Male whales, could sing. But in every one, I'm and that's sort of the beauty of that as well. Is it's educational without maybe meaning to be or intentionally doing so, and it.
And the real epitome of that free form style, you know what I mean, where it can be conversational, it can be that piece is just to kind of, there's no form there, I don't think, but it's beautiful, and it has so much she uses a lot of really good internal rhyme. Like you can see those like strokes of Koizan, right, and stuff like in the way she writes, where it is conversational and it's filled with this pathos and it's filled with this like these keywords and stuff that frame a whole emotional state. It's like ridiculous. Like it's so ridiculous.
Well, now we've made Georgia cry. Let's move on. We do have one more poet that we
Stop
need
it,
to
Georgia.
pay homage to.
Not even here.
Yeah. So, and I know who you've picked, Mark, and I have to say, no man makes me feel the way that Colin Nelson makes me feel.
I'm so happy I get to go last with the poet I picked. We do a bunch of stuff. There's the writing group, there's the shows. I first saw Colin our open mic quite near the start, and I admittedly foolishly thought that was that he was a new writer at that time, which wasn't true. Not that took anything away, but Colin just has this sort of incredible ability to marry such unique and different ideas, and it's always really funny and really poignant, and just sort of like it melds together so well. And I'm always a vibe of a lot of the stuff has like an undercurrent of, oh good lord, or in some sense, like, oh, some of it is very subtle, some of it it's otherwise. But I'm very happy that I get to go last, because I feel it's in the poem I have chosen has been stuck in my head since I first heard it, and I believe that that's in the spirit of the poem. So I'm very glad to get to spread the infection. Then this is just to give the extra back, this is a tribute to Colin's infant son's favorite song. It's nice, wholesome for the children. Little Peter Rabbit has a fly upon his nose. Watch it really closely now to see where it goes. It crawls up Peter's nostril despite his panic throes, and now it's laying eggs in his brain. Peter Rabbit feels unwell. Peter's lost his sense of smell. Peter's brain starts to swell, and his head hurts all the time. Little Peter Rabbit is host to a nasty parasite, a microscopic beastie that his body cannot fight. It munches through his cortex for a day and a night, and now it's taking over his brain. Peter Rabbit is changing. Peter's mind is deranging. Peter's sense of self is fading, and he can't quite recall his name. Little Peter Rabbit isn't there anymore. The parasite has burrowed down into his cranial core. It's already forced him to devour his siblings, for now it fully controls his brain. Peter Rabbit is a zombie. Peter Rabbit is a zombie. Peter Rabbit is a zombie, and he hungers for your flesh. Colin Nelson, everybody, check him out. He's fantastic.
Disgusting man. Strange, disgusting man.
I mean, earlier on we talked about Mark causing fear in poetry. Colin's writing is obviously impeccable. His comedic timing is perfect. And also, I mean this, there is no poet that is doing what Colin Nelson is doing.
No,
I have never seen anything like it. I've seen people try and do it and not do it as well. Just wild and disturbing in like the best way.
His like
special
his vocabulary
post.
Yeah. But his vocabulary is so good, like, because that's the thing, like he has this poem about the Fatberg, and it's gross, but like viscerally on our channel gross. I think like the language of it, I mean, the range with which he describes the grossness of the Fatberg is incredible. And it's the same with everything that Colin does. It is not just weird or gross or strange. It is painstakingly structured and like deliberately chosen. Like he isn't just haphazardly. I often say like that, like the sort of Noel Fielding, like, oh well, I'll cut you with my glitter scissors. Like it's just saying random words together, and it doesn't, like, it's whatever, right? Whereas what Colin does is is so much more surgical and clinical.
Yeah.
Like, you know, those choices of songs and how you pair it up and layer it up. His Postman Pat poem, right, again, is a good example of a similar thing where he uses a child's song, a very like familiar, you know, one that you know, and then that use of subversion and strange kind of sci-fi horror so well. He is, I really like you and Colin Gallie are like
I can't wait for that
soulmates.
collab.
I want to get a show. I want to do some sort of horror show that is Colin Nelson, myself, Lewis Brown, and Chelsea Nash, and I just want us to scare people all night.
The
Oh my
four
God.
horsemen of poetry.
Like I
Ease
just
But
want
we
to
could-
tear it.
I
Like,
mean, but like maybe
if you guys are
maybe
watching, hit me
actually-
up. I got ideas. Like,
I mean, but maybe actually though. Anyway,
That's such a good idea.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
But it's
so
Well, yeah.
someone, it's his whole presentation as well. His
Mhm.
performance is key to it. The voice that he uses, he has this
the
his
David
poet, like
Attenborough
his
Big
most
Brother
people have poetry
pronouncer.
voice, and it's, you know, whatever. Colin Nelson's poetry voice is incredible. This
Something else.
Nightmare David Attenborough. The only person that I think is vaguely like him is the Story Beast.
Yeah.
Henry
Oh,
Falley,
yeah.
who does like a not exactly the same, but a kind of similar vibe to it, and it's right on my street.
But it's why I sort of picked Colin and why I like that sort of like those sort of bits, because it's just like that proof that you can do horror, but like a lot of horror that do children's shows, you know, like that thing of like, this is like that's Ben McPherson, like the Ben McPherson,
yes.
you know, like that Roald Dahl,
yeah.
that kind of like, here's like, you know, depending on certain ones, it's like, this is terrifying, but like, haha, isn't it funny, you know, like, rather than, oh good lord, you know, it has just so many layers to it. So just big fan. But there were so many poets.
The four horsemen of poetry is now.
Oh my God, that needs to happen. That is
dear.
on the list.
I set it on canon. Sorry guys. Clear the
So
schedules.
excited. I'm excited for loads of things. I'm excited because NaPoWriMo is done. I'm excited because we're going to have another open mic on Monday with our amazing feature, Sarah M. Davies. I'm excited that our open mic is now twice a month and going on for probably the rest of the year, if not the rest of time. So come down to the Kilderkin every other Monday and come and see some poems. All of the poets who we've mentioned and many others who are extremely talented in their own right and have a diverse vocabulary and diverse portfolio of what they share are available at most of the open mics that happen. So go along to an open mic and find your own Colin Nelson or Georgia Bartlett McNeil and respect their poetry and be like, why the fuck aren't they being booked more? This is crazy. So thank you everyone for watching so far. If you've liked what we're doing and you want to see more of it, then join our Patreon. We bumble through a writing club once a month with our lovely writing club members, and all of us basically do a lot of what we're doing here, but with more people involved, and it's great fun. So come and write along with us, learn some more, get some tips, trade some secrets, make some friends with other poets who are doing awesome stuff. You can join that by going to patreon.com/IAmLoud, and you can sign up for £10 a month for our writing club, or just get loads of content. If you wanted stuff to watch, you can check out loads of our fringe shows from last year, all of our 2022 live season, all of our Edinburgh showcases so far available on demand on our Patreon. If you're looking for like other poetry content, then just stay here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release 3 videos a week and share the full slams after the fact so that you can catch up on the Loud Poets 2023 live season, slam season, showcase something craziness. We have had 6 poets qualify so far, and we have 6 spaces remaining to go qualify for our grand final with the Edinburgh International Book Festival this August and win a £3,000. Wow, crazy. We still have heats in Inverness, which sign-ups are closed, sorry, Aberdeen and and Edinburgh. So feel free to come along, sign up, compete to win a little regional prize, and then compete for our Big Daddy-O prize this August. All of the information about everything that I have just plugged can be found over on IAmLoud.co, the source of all of our goodness and all of our stuff, and anything that you want to know about us, you can find it there. It's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, that's another NaPoWriMo. Done, everyone. Well, well done.
Not done.
What?
not done.
Hmm?
Thank you very much, Bex, for taking care of the ad read. You know, it's important to do that. But if that's all cleared up, then
I mean, I was just going to say goodbye.
well, then, there's more to come. I mean, we did miss something. I made certain promises, and so if all the ad reading is done, well, then it's time to jump on in to tonight's episode of Kevical Roll. Roll a dice and do what it tells you. Choose random chance, put your faith in fate's hands, let the universe guide you. Unveil what lies inside you, prepare for the trials you'll trail through. Would you still roll if you knew the chaos it would lead to? Would you choose a god's protection? Or would you deal with a devil? Would you lie and cheat and steal from people? Would you turn to nature or turn to rage? Would you bend reality to another shape? Would you run to the very edge of the world or heal a soul with a single sung word? Could you fight forever? Could you be brave? Could you find balance or turn wild magic tame? Would you see adventure where others only see a game? Start your journey by telling me your name.
Katie?
Not fantasy enough. You are now Katagar Stormbringer, adventurer extraordinaire. And your first adventure is to join me on stage. A round of applause for Katagar. Good. We must hear your story told before you search for riches and renown. Let the D20 of fate roll whenever you hear this sound. Roll the dice. Katagar Stormbringer. Roll the dice.
3.
Elf from the land of roll the dice.
7.
Gnomes of the noble order of roll the dice.
20.
Chartered accountants, wielder of roll the dice.
4.
That one butter knife that comes with the flat. An odd person, to be sure, and this will go down well. You set off on a journey to find your lady love, to slay the beasts that took her, and most importantly, to level up. Upon a mighty steed you ride through valley, field, and dale, to the very edge of the land you know, to a fork in the trail. The East Road leads through the bog of woes where nightmares fear to tread, a reeking marsh of filth and rot where everything is dead, swarming clouds of biting bugs who suck blood just for fun, a road few choose to travel down, a road from which nobody returns. The West Road leads round all of that shit. Katagar, on a 1 to 19, you will take the East Road. On a 20, you will take the West. Roll the dice!
18.
East it is, I'm afraid. Chartered accountant. This is quite the choice you've made. Some might even call it brave. They would be wrong, you're quite deranged, but the love you seek to save is worth at least a little pain. So you brave the bites, ignore the whispering trees, you don't follow the lights or indulge those corpses, please. You stick to the path, but then you see where it leads. At the end of the road, an ogre, keen to make somebody bleed. Katagar, fight the ogre, roll the dice.
9.
You fight with every ounce of strength you have. But the ogre's club breaks your butter knife in half, and with sadistic, mocking laugh, he strikes you down. You fall at pace towards the ground, and in that moment a memory's found. Only a face, your lady love. Your vision blurs through cracked teeth, you mumble words. Don't give up hope. The fight was tough. The morning after's tougher. Rough stone floors no good for slumber. Your body aches, your vision's blurry. When you see the bars, you start to worry. It's dark in here and it smells of piss. A dungeon cell. You're bad at this. Your only shot is to pick the lock, to escape this jail, to not get caught. Roll the dice.
Hey, come on. Give me some. 19.
19, a success. You break out of the jail. You travel the halls. You climb a stair. It winds ever up into thinning air. At the very top of the tallest tower, you find the door you've searched for hours. Behind this door, your love awaits. This is your chance to help her escape. You turn the handle. You open the door, ready to find your love for her heart to soar. She's standing there, your lady love, dressed in silk, no chains to speak of. You realize now she was not captured. She was wooed by some charming bastard, so you must find a way to win her back, to change her mind despite all you lack, but with no real skill for you to draw on. Your only shot is to read a poem. Shut up, that rhymes. Roll the dice.
One.
Katie, you had a choice of 2 poems and you have picked a bad one. Here is the poem you will read to woo your lady love. If you would read it for us now.
Oh, kiss me the way you kissed that Satsuma in your bedroom, the one you have for practice? Kiss me the way you kissed your mirror, leaving dead skin and ghosts of longing behind. Dance with me the way you danced with that stolen scarecrow in your dad's shed. Let's kick up dust and get splinters. Bandage my gums the way you taxidermied that owl, with admiration in your eyes, yet constantly on the lookout for foxes. Kiss me on the outside of the crematorium.
Unsurprisingly, Katie, your poem fails. Your lady love is not wooed, but you have won over my heart and the heart of our audiences. Thank you for playing ethical role. Thank you to Andrew Blair for the terrible love poem. A wonderful contribution. Yes, thank you for that, guys.